Moriore te whānau, welcome into the practice run, your frontline pass to the heart of sports action, brought to you by 99 Dreams, inspiring others to chase their dreams with your host, Rawiri, Tukoirangi, and sometimes Brother Vincent. We're diving deep into the thrilling world of NRL Rugby League today, and who knows where the game will take us tomorrow. From the try line to the sideline, we got you covered.
So strap in as we tackle the big plays, the game-changing moments, and the stories that define legends. Whether you're a seasoned vet or this is your first hit up, the practice run is for everyone. Every run, every tackle, every win, experience the rush with us.
With exclusive insights, couch analysis, and a touch of humour, the practice run is here to keep you entertained, informed, and part of our practice squad. Because here, every practice run takes us one step closer to glory.
The Practice Squad, where every listener is MVP, powering our play every episode, every day.
And a huge shout out to 99 Dreams for powering our passion. And shout out to all the listeners all around the world. Thank you all so much for tuning in and sharing your time with us. Now let's kick things off for today's lineup. Today we've got the round one in review, the round of upsets, the round of mistakes, the round of errors. Man, and then we're going to jump into our power rankings and have a little bit of a discussion about how round one may have reshaped or made us rethink our initial predictions from the season. But before we get into anything, know what we got to do, Fano. Know what we got to do. I need redemption. I think I went 0-2 last week, man. Almost like our actual predictions.
Yeah, no, man, I'm on a roll. I'm planning on keeping it too.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, shoot.
Oh, I don't feel confident. Oh, sorry. That was genuinely lag, but yeah, we
Ooh.
got the...
That was bad. I was holding it down there for a while. I didn't change nothing. All right, both got scissors. I'm getting sick of this starting the same. All right, here we go.
Ooh.
1, 2, 3, shoot.
Oh, I don't feel
And
good
up.
about this at all. Oh!
We had the same mindset. I was hoping you would have went rock.
Oh, I don't feel confident in that too.
This
Dang.
This one's going to be a little
Okay.
bit difficult now because you kind of get a pattern.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. 1, 2, 3, shoot. And up.
Get it.
As I was going 1, 2, 3 here, I had no idea what I was going to pull, so I just left it. I was like, 1, 2, 3. Fuck, what am I doing? Because I got down here and I didn't want to change. I was like,
I don't know what to do. I was like, we'll just stay. Sometimes you just gotta stick with it. But oh well, I'll take it anyway.
Anyway, how was the weekend before we dive into all the mahi? How was the weekend, brother? How's food?
The weekend was a good one. We had a tune-up tournament for flag football nationals here in Tauranga, which was pretty good. We ended up playing 4 games. We managed to win 3. We lost 1, our first one against the Metro Lions. They are a super talented team. They'll definitely be one to watch. And nationals, bro, you should have heard the smack talk. The smack talk is real with them, eh? Let's kick up ass, they're smack talk. And me, but like no one else in the team's talking back to them, so it was quiet until I jumped on the phone and started talking back to them. It was kick up, eh? They had this one dude on their team who probably hates me right now because I pretty much just picked him out and just abused him. Poor fella.
Did you get the dub? You guys get the dubs over the weekend?
Yeah, we lost that game. We were up with about a minute left. We got a penalty called on us, and then they were able to get the winning touchdown. But the other 3 games went really well. I thought our defense played good. We got stops when we needed to, and yeah, I think we're shaping up to be okay. We got a couple practices left, and then nationals in 2 weeks, I believe. Yeah.
Whereabouts is that? Where can we see it if we're out and
That
about?
one's up in Auckland. I'm not too sure where exactly, but I'm pretty sure they streamed it last year and the year before, so I'm assuming there'll be a stream on YouTube up somewhere. Once we get it, we might be able to post it. Yeah, if anyone wants to watch. For those that don't know, I play flag football, kind of like Ripper for American football. It's just 5-a-side. super offensive base. Yeah, just a little bit to keep me busy during the summer, keep my fitness up. Yeah.
Our American listeners probably know a little bit about flag. If they can hit us up, might be able to give you some pointers, bro.
Hopefully, well, it's now a sport at the next Olympics 2028, I think. So they're looking to take a team. I think
Oh,
I mean, obviously they got to qualify. Um, I won't be there. Nationals is good enough for me.
I was about to say, is that a goal you're
Nah,
working
man, I'm happy
towards?
enough to just play in the local league and go to nationals. That's enough for me, man.
Same.
But yeah,
No,
that
fair,
was
bro. I mean, that's still a massive accomplishment.
yeah, that was the weekend. What about you, bro? Glad to have footy back. First full weekend of footy. How was it?
Bro, I love it, eh? Love just nothing to do. Oh, chuck on the footy, grab a few beers, have feed, just kick back, relax, and just let it go. I mean, Sunday, nothing better than because I was jamming darts in the weekend, so terrible run. I think I got bounced in the round robin this week, and then we've got Tuesday darts starting up, so we've got Tuesday night league, so I'm preparing for that. But yeah, no, nothing better than coming home from darts, have a quick feed, and then chuck on the game, and you got the Queensland Derby. The little brothers, the Brisbane Dolphins, taking on the other little brothers, the North Queensland Cowboys, after darts. It's at Suncorp. I was like, oh mate, I love footy. But stoked to have footy back. Big weekend. Even bigger one this weekend with all the teams playing this one. Obviously minus the bye round, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what these Tigers can do. See whether or not they can live up to the criticism. I mean, the Dragons, they fall back and answered a few critics over the weekend. I think a lot of the teams fired back at a lot of the critics over the weekend. They're calling this the round of upsets. So I think only one of the favourites actually won their game.
Two of
No,
them,
two.
yeah.
Sorry, the
The
Cowboys.
Cowboys and Para. Yeah.
Yeah, so big weekend of upsets, but yeah, no, look, I'm loving footy back. Um, as the group chats are going off, I think I spent a lot of the Warriors game answering the group chat back, so I might take a leaf out of your book too and just
Bro,
close the laptop and just watch the
that
game.
was stupid. Like, I closed the laptop and I had my phone on charge. So I was just watching it in my room, and then halftime, get up to go grab the phone, and yeah, all I see, 87 unread messages. I'm like, the fuck is this? It's just you and Ben. I was like, oh shit, my bad, boys. Oh. And then yeah, I was like, oh,
No, I
he's
was
talking too
thinking,
much, man. He's distracting me from the game. So I put the phone back on, and I was like, nah, get back on charge.
yeah, that's the thing. I was like halfway through, I was like, no, you're distracting me from the game. And then in the Melbourne game, he wasn't even watching it, so I was like, ah, fuck, I'm not replying as much. Sorry, G, if you're watching this. But yeah, I was watching the game, man. I was into that Melbourne game.
Mm.
Bruh. Well, enough teasing it. We might as well get into it. And if you're watching on YouTube, um, we've hijacked some videos, so now you can watch the highlights of the games down here while Tu and I just talk and debate about the games. So the first game of the weekend, obviously we've already talked about the Las Vegas game, so we won't be mentioning them in this episode of round ones, but we will start with the Knights and the Raiders at McDonald's Jones Stadium in Newcastle. Now, man, Thursday night footy. Big expectations on the Knights. They finished, what was it, fifth, I think it was, on the NRL ladder last year. So everyone thought, oh, yeah, Knights should be the favourites to get up and get in there and go for gold. But what I seen from that game was that the Knights lacked a lot of attack unless the ball was in Ponga's hands. If Ponga wasn't instigating the attack, then it looked like the Knights were quite lackluster. There were a few moments of brilliance there from the Knights, but overall I think the Raiders had the intensity throughout. Their kicking game was immaculate. Sorry, fantasy fans, if you had, what's his name? Is it Strange? Ethan Strange on your fantasy team? Fogarty was taking all the kicking, man. He was taking all the passes, bro. So all those guys were Strange in the fantasy lineup. Karoha, but yeah, Fogarty, man, his kicking was on point, and I like the way he was steering those Raiders around. It was good to see Danny Levi back, man. He looked nice out there. He was doing
He did,
bits.
eh?
It was good to
He
see.
was better
Yeah,
than I
man.
thought, man. Like I was like, Danny Levi,
Yeah.
okay, making a mini comeback. Good to see. Good to
Yeah,
see.
it was great to see. Um, I think, yeah, that Raiders forward pack as well, bloody deadly. Yeah, it was a fun game. What were your thoughts? It was a 12-28 full-time score to the Raiders.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it in last week's episode. The key would be to see how Jamal Fogarty steps up. And boy, did he step up. And like you said, led the team around.
Yeah.
He was that dominant half. He's going to have to keep that up if that, do any good this season. But what I like to see was that forward pick. I thought it was a bit of a throwback performance from old Josh Papali'i. Dude's got it, still got it.
Yeah.
Big Papa. He played really, really well. Joe Tapine doing his thing. Rapana at the back's always good. I thought it was a bit of a throwback from the Raiders, eh? They
Oh,
they
yeah.
surprised me. They were they were really good. And the Knights,
Physical team
mm,
too, eh? It was a physical
it
game.
always is when you face the Raiders, eh? That's kind of like their hallmark. But the Knights, just too many errors, man. You know, too many
Yeah.
errors. You could tell it was their first game, and then yeah, no doubt they'll get better as the season goes along. But I think we expected them to come out slightly better than they did. But yeah, so yeah, overall,
Uh,
the Raiders solid. Man, they were solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Green Machine. Man, you guys proved us wrong. Maybe we should tip you guys this week. I mean, Raiders fans probably don't want us to, but you guys look great out there. Yeah, I liked, what's his name? Savage out there. Bro, he was wicked. Um, he was working, man. It's just up the guts, hard hitting, gave no fucks. He was all over it. He's definitely a man you want on the team. So, Raiders, you're on my radar this season. Yeah, with the Knights and the errors, I think that's just going to be a recurring theme throughout this week's reviews. A lot that's what gave most of the games away for a lot of teams was errors. It's round one, so plenty of time to improve. But yeah, as you'll see in a review of a game coming up soon, iron sharpens iron, man, and there's no better way than what this team did to the defending premiers. But we'll get there shortly. Up next, I guess we'll dive into the Warriors. Unless you got any more to say about those Green Machine and the Newcastle Knights. Oh, hold on. One thing I will ask about the Knights is, outside of Kalen Ponga, who do you think needs to step up at the Knights to get them going?
Outside of Ponga, who needs to get them going? It's got to be either Hastings or Gamble. They should, I'd say, maybe look at getting Cogger in there. They need another playmaker to, because they rely far too heavily on Ponga. I mean, he's good and he's great and he makes stuff happen, but you need another playmaker. So I'd be looking at one of their halves they have to step up. Yeah.
Yeah, and they will. Like we say, it's round one. There's still plenty of time on the season to move your team up the ladder, but round one is where you kind of make your statement. And I guess that's where this next team made a statement. We've got Friday night, Go Media Stadium in Auckland. The New Zealand Warriors going up against the Sharks at home. That halftime show is crazy, man. I got to get up to a game this year and watch it because I went to the one in
Mm-hmm.
Napier, and because when they travel on the road, even though it's a home game, it's not as entertaining. They don't have the big bright lights. They don't have all that pyrotechnics. So I need to get up there and watch a game. Potentially looking at going up for that Broncos game. But yeah, 12-16, Sharks got up. What were your thoughts on that game, bro?
To be honest, I thought the Warriors were going to roll them. They got that hot start, hit all the ball, everything was going smoothly. You had Anna Blake doing his thing, scoring the opening try. Um, it looked good. It looked good, and that would have confirmed a lot of things that we were talking about, like the Wars being, a genuine threat this year, and the story of the Sharks not being able to beat anyone in the top 8, let alone top 4, would have held true. But again, errors, momentum shift, and the Sharks kind of took momentum for them, and in that second half, they looked good. I'm guessing Fitzgibbon gave one hell of a speech at halftime because they look like a completely different team. And it was pretty much I thought the Sharks just rolled up and did their thing, really. One thing I'd say about the Warriors is they kind of look different when with Wade Egan when he's on to when he's off. He does so much for them. His ball playing and his control around that ruck I thought was quite noticeable when he was off. They didn't seem to click, and when he came back on, they kind of went to another gear. So, be interesting to see what happens with his injury because he's a key part of that team. And on the Sharks, I thought their bench was strong. They didn't lose
Yeah.
anything. Like when their bench came on, if anything, they probably went to another level. Where with the Warriors, you notice when Fanua Blake goes off. Tohu Harris plays, the whole 80. So, but when Fanua Blake and is it Barnett, Mitch?
Yeah, Miss
Yeah,
Barnett.
when they come off, you notice it.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are probably the two things that stood out there. Sharks bench was really, really good, and the difference Egan makes to the Warriors. But yeah, that was it for me. Other than that, get Artest the ball. He's really good. Just get him the ball. He'll make it happen. But yeah, what about you, bro? What was your takeaways?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to dive into. Well, first of all, if you give the Sharks any glimpse of hope, and when they start smelling blood in the water, they keep going and they don't stop. They're a very persistent side. And like I say, they got that depth because they got Finucane coming off the bench,
Yeah.
eh?
Yeah.
So when you got a guy like Finucane coming off the bench, his leadership, his skill set, his abilities, that's a guy you want coming off the bench. And I guess that's the difference. They've got a guy like Finucane coming off, who's another on-field leader. And we've got, and no offense to these guys, they're dogs, but, who was it? It was Bunty R4, and who was the other one that was coming on?
Bunty R4, they had Dylan Walker, and...
Oh, that's right, yeah. I feel like Dylan Walker will have to be one of those guys that when you get the right matchup on the day, he's one that you want on the team. But if you're going up against a team that he doesn't match up well against, bring up someone else. Like let Tomale play. He would have been better in that game.
He didn't even get on.
I know. He was on my fantasy team. 0 points from him. Yeah. So I know, man. That's why I'm like, get Tomale on there, man. Bring up some of the young guys. I feel like there's so many more people that are ready and willing to put up their hands and get that work done. Speaking of positional battles, I think that jersey number 6 battle is going to start heating up soon, especially if old mate wants to keep playing the way he played in the weekend. Yeah, he scored 1 try, but that was about it from him. And it came out of broken play. But if he had, kept his head on a swivel off a couple of Rogers offloads, Rogers' fantasy score wouldn't have been so low because it wouldn't have been a turnover. The ball's not dead until they're playing the ball, bro. So don't try to set up the next tackle. Make sure you're ready there to attack and go. That's what I loved most about when James Maloney was at the Warriors. He knew that the ball was never dead until they were playing that ball. Until then, James always knew it was live. And so he was perfect for coming off those Feleti Mateo offloads and hitting that gap, man. So any 6 that wants to play at the Warriors, you've got to know that that ball's not dead until the tackle's being freaking played at. So I'd like to see them potentially bring up Timothy Martin or give Chanel Harris-Tavita another jam. Because, Metcalf, even though it was 1 week, but it's like, come on, that was the whole game. He was like that. And I think, if he fed Roger the ball a bit more or a little bit earlier, could have been a different story. But hey, you can't rewrite history. You can only learn from it. And that's my feedback for the Warriors side of things. Because I'm still on that bandwagon. Fine, I'm with you. I know you can still get there. Use your own worst enemies. You let errors creep in late in the second half, and you just couldn't get that momentum back. Because once that momentum shifts, it's really hard to buy it back. So, kia kaha. Next week's not going to be any easier. I think you go over to Melbourne to play the Storm. So I don't think it's going to be an easy road for you guys starting off. Let me double check that, but I think that's how it goes. On Saturday. So Warriors fans, bit of a bumpy road ahead, but I'm sure you guys will give it your best. And hey, give Roger a bit more ball, and I'd like to see us go a little bit more full tip. Sharks, I quite like the way the Sharks play. they, like you said, after they came out in the second half, totally different team. I think, you got to give them credit, their patience and allowing the game to come to them rather than going and chasing after it and playing the Warriors style of football. They just started to play their own pace. They didn't get caught up in the we're down 12-0. They said, look, there's still time on the clock. Let's go for it. And go for it they did. Sharks definitely deserved that win. Great game. I enjoyed every minute of it. And yeah, Benja, you can stop blaming Tuanai for it now. It was your fella's bad luck, not else. We picked one game right each this weekend, so none of us got bad luck, just bad teams.
They were, I forgot to mention, like the Sharks, when they get on a roll, they just, they score in bunches and our hearts are beating. That's kind of what happened, man. They got their momentum and it was pretty much all Sharks, man. And they didn't even let them get a chance at getting that momentum back, So yeah, full credit to them, the Sharks and the Wars. I think they'll both be there. I reckon they will still be. We got a long season ahead of us. But yeah, good first up win for the Sharks and to the Wars. Yeah, yous will be fine. Well, hopefully.
Yeah, it's always tough to lose at home in front of the crowd, especially after such a huge season last year, and so many people placing so many expectations on you guys to perform at such a high standard. But look, we know it's round one. Anything can happen from here. I think Panthers last year lost round one to the Broncos by 1 or 2 points. So anything can happen. It's a long season. And speaking of the Panthers, we head over next to Amy Park, Melbourne, where Craig Bellamy and the Melbourne Storm defended Craig's round one ridiculous stat. What is it now? 23? Did they say? Is it 23? 22?
Yeah, 23, I believe. Yeah.
Damn. That's all I can say about that, is damn. But I do remember Cooper Cronk talking to them, I think, just after halftime, because I think at that point it was still 2-0 at the half.
I think so as well.
Cooper Cronk said, those boys, they'll definitely be trying their hardest in the second half to make sure that they don't ruin Craig Bellamy's record, because they said neither one of them will want to go back to the changing room. They said they'd have better luck going to the Panthers changing room if the Panthers win this game. So, yeah, Cooper obviously coming through that Melbourne system knows not how important that record is to Craig Bellamy, but just how important being consistent game in and game out is to Craig Bellamy. And I think that's what the testament of that 8-0 win for Melbourne meant. It wasn't just about keeping the record. It's about, being ready, whether it's game 1 or game 27 or the grand final. It's about making sure that you're ready no matter what, no matter who's on the team, who isn't. It's next man up, and that's exactly what it was for Melbourne Storm. No Cameron Munster and no Nelson Asofa Solomona, and yet they still managed to get across that line late in the second half to put them up 8-0. What a game that was. I was watching it. It was an arm wrestle. Man, I think for me, this was my favourite game of the weekend just because of how much of an arm wrestle it was. There was a few interpretations of the rules that could have gone Penrith's way with that, what was it, obstruction, where there was a slight obstruction, but Luai still ran that same line. Who knows if he would have got caught or not had there been no obstruction, but he obstructed, and that's the rules. One thing I was interested in watching with this game is, how that kicking rules change now? You can't kind of hide behind that big wall and bomb downfield anymore. You've kind of got to, you can't impede any runners anymore. And, that's what Panthers are great at. That's pretty much why Moses Leota's out there. It's just to stop Cleary getting cleared out in the kicks. So it was interesting watching that unfold, but it didn't seem to hurt them too much. Panthers fans don't really have much to be worried about. They're getting used to the chemistry and the new connections within the team. I think within the next 2-3 rounds, you guys will be back to your winning ways. But it was interesting to see that their attack is kind of getting stopped at the moment. I think it's 3-4 years of the same sort of attack style. Teams are sort of cottoning on. Did you kind of get a sense of that throughout that game?
Yeah, that was one of the things I wrote down. It looked like the attack was becoming a little bit predictable. It's still a great attack, but yeah, like you said, right, they've been doing it now for so long. They're easily the most scouted team, so everyone knows what they want to do, where their strike weapons are, and when you lose so many players, right, you can start keying more on their main ones. So Nathan Cleary, he's going to be well looked after most of the season. He's still good enough to make stuff happen. But yeah, they're attacking in good ball territory, like inside the 20. They had so many chances. Maybe that's just a credit to the Storm's defense. They were good, man. Their defense just to stop wave after wave. But yeah,
Yeah, man.
one thing I wanted to say is Dylan Edwards. Nah, you need to grow your hair back, dog. That ain't it. That ain't it, man. That was distracting. That haircut was distracting, man. Alright. Can't do it, bro. You need hair back, please. Please, because that is just... Some people are meant to have a bald head, I reckon. He's not one of them. No.
Yeah, it was pretty distracting. It was the first thing I noticed.
It's the first thing any of us noticed.
All of the players.
Man.
Yeah. I think it's because Nelson wasn't out there, so someone had to be bald on the field.
Oh,
sorry, but Nelson, man,
not him.
I don't want the smoke, brother. I don't want that smoke.
Nothing pertaining to the Storm. How good does Peppenhausen look?
Yeah, man. He's confident. He's running confidently, which is good to see. He doesn't look worried. Like when Sean Johnson came back from his injury with the Warriors, he was a bit standoffish. He wasn't ready to attack the line. Pappenhausen's showing none of that. He doesn't give a shit. He's got a mullet. He's got the mo, and he's ready to go, my bro. He's in there. Fuck, he's all about it. So, I'm loving seeing Pep like that. And if he keeps up this work rate, he could throw his hat in for Origin. I don't know if he'll get selected, but definitely keep playing like this. He'll be giving the selectors a bit of a headache because, he's playing superb. I think all of the New South Wales eligible fullbacks are crushing it at the moment, man.
No doubt.
Tedesco had a decent game. Tommy Turbo had a great game. Latrell had a decent game. Edwards played all right. He played, consistent Edwards style. It's just his style. And then, with Pep, good luck finding a spot for all those boys.
Pep changes their team. Like, you look at how they did last year. They missed him. He's a big part of their attack, man. And with him, if he's healthy for the whole year, kind of the same way Turbo was for Manly, but he takes into another gear. That Storm side, and I think it showed, man. So hopefully he stays healthy for the whole year. And Melbourne Storm are going to be, they're already going to be good. Add him to the mix.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, it's going to be even that much tougher to beat them. So glad to have him back. He's had so many injuries. And I feel league's just better when he's playing. And the Storm is so much better with him on. Yeah, that I think they go from being, that top 4 team to potentially genuine threats to take it all out on the back of how well Paps does. But yeah, he's got to be thereabouts for the New South Wales team. It's good luck to the coach, Old Madge. Good luck picking that side. Someone's going to miss out, but it is what it is. But yeah, any other key points from this game that stood out to you?
Yeah, well, I really think, again, it's, I guess, a testament to that Melbourne mentality, is it doesn't matter how big the superstar is, with or without you, we'll still carry on. And, Melbourne still managed to get to third, without Pep. This year with him, the sky's the limit. But, like I said in the start of this review, no Munster, no Nelson Asofa-Solomona. Both of those players are key players in getting that attack started, man. Because when Munster's on, there's no stopping him. And Nelson, straight up the guts, whether he's off the bench or whether he's starting, man, he is a monster out there and he's a handful every time. So look out you minnows, everyone at the bottom of the table, it's going to be a rough week when you know you've got Melbourne coming to town. Home or away, they're going to be a threat. And yeah, look, I think I can't even remember who I picked in my top side, but I think I had Melbourne at 4th again. Definitely think that's changing. That was just a stand-up performance, solid on defense. Reminded me of some of those early 2010s Melbourne Storm, and they were quite a strong defensive side. Yeah, I'm just excited to see footy back, man, and to see Melbourne Storm back at that great level. It sucks, but I think it helps every other team step up to that bar, and that's one thing the Panthers have done, is really raise that bar to the next level that every other team has yet to climb over. But I feel like that gap's starting to close up now between other teams and Panthers. I don't think they've surpassed the Panthers by any means. I just think that gap has started to close a little bit between Penrith and the rest of the comp.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that, with that gap closing. And I think where was noticeable, in particular against the Storm, was their bench. Not having Spencer Leniu there to bring that impact off. I think it was a bit noticeable. Same way with the Warriors, how their bench is maybe a little bit thin. With Panthers, you're going to have a solid start with Leota and Fisher Harris there and Isaiah Yeo. But when those two come off, there was a noticeable drop. They kind of started losing that battle in the middle, and it only really picked up when they came back on. So maybe they might look at starting one and bring the other one off the bench, what they've done in the past. But yeah, now it's noticeable to see where they've lost their depth. I was talking to one of the bros from Flag, and I go, man, could you imagine if the Panthers kept who they wanted to keep? Could you imagine their 17? I was like, could their team legit go undefeated? Could we be looking at an undefeated season if they got to keep everyone who they were? What would their 17 look like? It'd be crazy. It could be stupid. Someone's missing out, but because how many players have they lost now? 7 or 8? Probably more.
Yeah, they've lost heaps. They've lost heaps. And even people that were a little bit further down the roster that have gone somewhere else, and now they're kind of pinging.
Man, imagine if they keep them up. I legit think you could be looking at an undefeated season. I don't see anyone beating them. It's just, that'd be crazy.
They're wicked. They're solid, man. Yeah, sadly, we've got to head over to Combank Stadium in Sydney. The Parramatta Eels against their longtime rivals, the Bulldogs. Do you consider that still a rivalry, to this day? Or is it kind of, laid dormant lately? What's your guys' record against the Eels lately?
It's definitely not good. They've definitely got the number on us lately. But they tend to be half decent games just because of the rivalry. I know we beat them, if it wasn't last year, it was the year before, where we just put one on them. It was one of those games where we were just completely on, and they weren't. It was probably one of our more dominant victories. But I'd say, any rivalries, it ebbs and flows. It's just their time. It's their time to dominate us. And no doubt, back in the day, there were times where we absolutely dominated them. So, yeah, I just think, it's their time. They're contenders. We're in a rebuilding phase, so I'm not surprised that happened. The game itself, just too many errors, man. All of our sets are just coming in our own halves. They did well to pin us, on our line. Got a whole bunch of, set restarts. I mean, it was something ridiculous. I think they had 50 play the balls at our 20 to our 4. It was just the most outrageous stat. And if you look at all the stats, they just absolutely dominate us. Yeah, nothing really much to say. I thought the boys played good defense on our line. It was a lot better than I thought. We still leaked a few, but that's what happens when you have to defend 50. When you have to defend that much on our line. A lot of the Bulldogs fans are not happy. they expected better, and a lot of them are blaming our attack. I'm like, we didn't even have a chance to attack. And, so how are you going to blame the attack when we didn't even really have the chance? And when we finally did, in that last 20, we scored. Yeah, I think we might have to change our team around a bit because Critter touched the ball like 3 times. So you can't have that happening. Josh Adokar should have been taken off after that injury, and the poor guy had to play out the first half. That shouldn't have happened. Yeah, we got a long way to go. Yeah, but it is what it is. I'll hand it over to you. I don't really want to talk about it.
Yeah, look, I don't want to make too many, excuses for the Bulldogs and, diminish how well Parramatta played. Parramatta played an amazing game. They definitely deserved to win that game. Not taking anything from those guys. They've got a well-polished team. They're definitely a team of contenders. And it looks like they're starting to put the things together that'll help them get there or thereabouts at the pointy end of the season. However, they're going up against a team where they're not sure what the combinations look like. They've got a lot of new players coming in and out. Well, how many players have you guys had over the past 3 years coming in and out? Like, you guys get new players every year, eh, in the starting lineup?
Yeah, so we don't have a single player left from the 2021 season, like, at all. I think that whole...
And that was only 3 years ago.
The whole 30's gone. The only person I could think from that team, and I believe they were juniors at the time, would be Bailey Biondi Odo. But definitely no one from the 17. They're all gone. Faitala Mariner was the last one left. So yeah, it's a whole new team. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough to get those combinations together. You guys won't be as well polished as Parramatta, with a lot of those guys who have been together for a couple of years now, and they're starting to find their feet and put it all together. They've also got the likes of a Mitch Moses, who is just a bit of a god out there. He just happened to be born in the same era as Nathan Cleary, which sucks for him, because I think he's a quality 7. Bulldogs, yeah, definitely need to find a way to get Critter involved a lot more. You didn't throw the bag at him to get him to Balmore for no reason. So find a way to inject him in the game. Same as the Warriors, man. They just got to find a way to get those centers in the game.
Yeah. You just play Critter at fullback, because Blake Taff, I'm telling you, man, you got a few more weeks before I start saying shit. Okay, you get a pass at your first game, so it's okay, but boy, if it don't improve, we need to start making changes, and the first one I'm making is Critter to fullback. Then he'll definitely get the ball. God.
There you go. What were your key matchups that you liked watching from the Eels' perspective?
I had to say it, but Bryce Cartwright absolutely ripped us. I'm a Bryce Cartwright fan too. I'm a big fan of his, but can't believe he did that to us, you prick.
He had a game, man.
He bought out. Think of him that.
Yeah.
In terms of matchups, I thought Dylan Edward played well. Their halves, I mean, Mitchell Moses pretty much had to be the on-field coach because he did something to his groin quite early, which is why he stopped kicking. So Dylan Brown stood up for that. I thought their number 9, Joey Lussick, thought he played good, man. And they're a different team when they got a 9 that runs. Oh, not runs, that does like the job that they need him to do. And yeah, I'd never seen him before, but he looked really, really good. Clint Gufferson, yep, he's still good, and it's annoying. He's just another one that's just solid. Always turns up for the Eels. I think it showed in that game our forward pack, because they just rolled us. Regis Campbell-Gillard had a field day. And then when Junior Polo came on, he had a field day. Bryce Cartwright, as we've mentioned before, he had a field day. They had something like 13 offloads to our 2. Just And they were good offloads too. They had one play where they had like 5 offloads and they got like an extra 20 meters. It was ridiculous. I got to give it to them. They was just pure dominations on all fronts. But I do think the boys will be better. I hope so. Because, yeah.
Yeah, you guys got a whole season to improve. I don't think you'll, top 8 improve, but you'll get yourself off the bottom.
Yeah, be interesting to see what they do. Edo Carr's probably out for a few weeks. So I might talk about that in the next episode of what I think the change should be made and how I think they should line up going forward. But yeah, that's more of a talk for another day, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that could even be on Thursday's show,
yeah.
where we preview the round coming up. But yeah, look, talking about wooden spooners, the game that followed that, Titans versus the Dragons, outside of the biggest call from commentary being when frickin' what's his name, Ben Hunt drops the ball clean off a kickoff, and the commentator goes, "Wow, shades of 2015 right there." I was like, "Boy, that is savage and uncalled for, man. That is rude." But yeah, look, Dragons had a statement to make on Saturday night. They are tired of being disrespected, being called wooden spooners, and the Tigers haven't even played yet. They said, "You're talking about us, and the Tigers haven't even played yet? How dare you?" And so they decided to beat the Titans 28-4, with a team, two said, had no Origin players on it, or next to no Origin players on it, and the Titans had, and he listed all of their players, and the Dragons felt disrespected by those comments and decided to throw 28 on them, just to say, here's 28 reasons why none of that team should make Origin. But yeah, look, a game I expected I picked the Dragons, but I expected the Titans to do a little bit better than what they did there. What's his name? Sloan, the fullback. He was everywhere. He was a menace for those Dragons, man. He was just everywhere you need a fullback to be. He was on the kick chases. He was on the passes. He was creating shit for himself. He just, yeah, I quite liked. I turned into a Sloan fan for that game. I was like, oh, I like you, my man. You know, not as electrifying as Reece Walsh, but I liked it, and I did want it to be an all Queensland making the top 8 this year. But man, look, the red V, you might have convinced me. You're not. I don't think you're a top tier team. I think on a great day you could make the 8, but I think you're about that 13 to. We'll go 13 to 8. I think you're in that category currently. What you guys show? Why are you laughing, man, at the currently?
Because I reckon it's going to last
as
like
it stands.
2 weeks.
Well, who's their game that they got next week? I'm sure that their performance will build into their performance will build into a lot of confidence. Because once they started getting momentum, it was slow in the first half, and then the second half was where all these tries started popping out.
I'm not gonna lie. I only watched the first half of that game. I was tired. The half that I watched, they scored that try early. I believe the Dragons scored first day, and then from there, to me, it honestly looked like I thought the Titans had the better of the going for the rest of that first half. Tino was just a beast, I thought. Every time he got the ball, he was making, good yardage, and he was hungry for work. They had plenty of chances to score. They just couldn't execute, and I think they finally did. When I went to bed thinking, oh yeah, Titans look like they got the momentum back. I can't remember if it was tied or they were still down by 2, and then woke up and they got absolutely pumped. In saying that, they did lose Kieran Foran, like just before the game. He would have made a big difference. But got to give it to the Dragons. You forget how good of a coach Shane Flanagan is. this is a premiership winning coach, and I think he proved it. They have got the Dragons looking different, and I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of hoping that they would win the spoon, and I still hope that they do. One of them are the Tigers, but if that's the first game of the year, boy, that's a hell of a start. Hell of a start. They might lose Zach
It's a hell
Lomax
of a
because
start,
he's
all right.
might be crying that he's on the wing, but from the looks of it, or looks from the stats, he balled out and had a great game. So maybe
Yeah,
he
man.
should stay on the wing. You know, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just hope there was a fluke and not we don't see that every week. Dragons.
I'm just stoked. For me personally, the Dragons broke the curse. So I've gone, what was it? Indigenous All Star was 2, Broncos, Bunnies, Knights, Warriors, Penrith, Bulldogs. 8 games. I've called 8 predictions incorrectly before the Dragons finally broke that curse. What I was going to ask you is, outside of Tino, do you think there's anyone that can help stand up and get this Titans team further up the table than where they're currently headed? Because you can't rely on Tino every game to show up like that. He needs help.
Yeah, but I don't know when he's back. I'm going with that second rower who's just a beast. Fafita would have been a different story if he was playing us, I'd say. But I'm not too sure how far away, if he's suspended or what. But I'd probably say him. Thought Veros had, from what I remember when he came on, I was surprised he didn't start because he's a quality 9. I think they had Chris Randall starting at 9, then he came on. Another one who just always seems to be injured, but I think he could be play a little bit better maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I only watched that first half, and from what I've seen, it kind of seems stock standard. To be honest with you, like it was a close game. Um, but then yeah, to see or to hear that Sloan just went next level in that second half. So yeah, I don't really have too much to say about it. I can only go off what I saw, which was they look evenly matched, I'd say. Yeah.
Is it the Titans that lost every game in the second half last season? Pretty much. Not every game, but like they could be up and then all of a sudden choke in the last 20.
Yeah, they're their team known for choking. They broke, I think, a record for leading at halftime and then, being run down. And
Yeah, because I'm looking at it and
there's
I haven't seen them win too many in last year's draw. So I don't know if too much has changed from last season for the Titans. And the way this game started off doesn't look good. However, for the Red V, up the Dragons, you guys from this one game looked good. Sloan back there, hopefully he stays healthy. He's a fun player to watch. Um, Hopefully he can play for the Kiwis. He's probably not eligible. He's probably Australian, but hey, brother, come jam with us, G. Surely somewhere you got some whakapapa. It'll be sweet, bro.
Sloan.
I don't know, man. He's just fun to watch. He made me want to buy a Dragons jersey. Over to the final game of the weekend. Over there at Suncorp Stadium. Like I said on the last podcast, man, they're the Brisbane Dolphins. They want to be us so badly they use our stadium when we have a bye week. So we'll call them the Wannabes. We got the Wannabes versus the Cowboys. And look, I think in the podcast I picked the Dolphins to win purely because they won round 1 last year versus the Roosters. And I kind of think that's what the Dragons did against the Titans, was use that because everyone thought the Dolphins were going to be, wooden spooners last season. I think the Dragons took that same energy that the Dolphins used last season and took it out on their opponents. Sadly, the Dolphins couldn't do it this time round. In fact, the Cowboys used all of that and took it out on the Dolphins. They humiliated the Dolphins at our stadium. How dare the Dolphins disgrace the beloved Suncorp that way? 43-18. How do you go home back to Redcliffe and go, man, what a game? To be honest, I was on my phone for most of this one, so I was watching and then scrolling because it got out of hand. I was just listening to it by the end of that game. Who's really stood out? I enjoyed what Tom Malolo did. He didn't do Tom Malolo of old, but he was solid out there. I think their forwards really laid a solid foundation for them to get going. I thought Herbie and Flegler would have done a bit more at the Dolphins. I think that's why I picked the Dolphins initially. I thought they would have done a little bit more, but I guess that's only 2 additions. The Hammer, he had a breakaway at one point. It was fourth tackle. He had a one-on-one against, well, not a one-on-one, he had a one-on-two against Drinkwater. Decides to kick it through for the winger. And he had, I can't remember who it was, but to his right, all he had to do was just pass to his right. And then they would have got a little bit further up the field. Instead, he kicks it and they regain the ball about 10 metres out on fourth. So that was that error. He made a few other errors, just positioning and handling errors. The Cowboys really made them pay. I think the Cowboys scored early and often. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie. I never watched this game. It did nothing for me. I think I said in our preview show I didn't care who won. I think I ended up picking the Cowboys just because. But yeah, look. I think we might have given a bit too much respect to Wayne Bennett for what he did last year and how well they started. They were in that top 8 for quite a bit. And then the players that they brought over, Flegler, Herbie Farnworth, Jake Avarillo. So we all kind of had them chinning upwards. But yeah, man, the Cowboys just laid the smackdown on them. Big statement, letting everyone else know that, they missed the playoffs last year, the Cowboys? They did, eh? But the year before, right, prelim final? Well, thereabouts. They were a top 4 team in 2022. So they had that top 4. Looks like a top 4 performance. And man, if they keep playing that way, they're easily going to be in the playoffs. But yeah, can't really comment too much on the game. Like I said, didn't really watch it. Will I watch any of their games? I don't know. For some reason, and I don't know why, but these are Queensland derbies. They don't really move the needle for me, eh? Like, obviously, I'll watch it if they play you guys.
Nah, I love it.
But yeah, the Dolphins, Cowboys, nah, not on my need to watch list. Yeah.
I'm actually stoked to see the Cowboys doing all right. I hope they don't put that on us. That's where I draw the line. Is when they start beating us. But always like to see Cowboys doing good. But yeah, look, it definitely showed up on my radar. I'll be keeping an eye out on those Cowboys games in the near future. Don't want to miss it because you might miss 43 and 18. It was a tri-fest. But when it rains, it pours. It looks like they're in Brisbane. Dolphins, I thought they might have had a little bit more depth this season because that's one thing they lacked last year was depth. And you notice that when they went to the bench last season. This year, I thought, man, they should be doing all right. Maybe they bring back, who was it? That's their centre.
Who?
Avarillo that they signed. They need to give him a nudge.
Yeah, he didn't even play.
Instead of
ruthless.
Yeah, they had Tizzy New out there. Who else had it? Like, I think Flegler did quite well for them. He was solid on attack and defence. He managed to score a try. They didn't really use Herbie. I didn't see him out there too much. Didn't hear his name being called too often. So we'll see. I guess it's just new centres coming into teams. They don't quite know how to use them yet. I think that was the recurring theme throughout this weekend, as well as the errors, the penalties, getting used to the new rules and things like that. No leg lifting, no blocks, no obstructions and things like that. But I think a lot of teams with new centres are struggling to figure out how they're going to use them in the lineup. But once they build that chemistry, build those rotations, I think that's when you'll start to see them all firing and firing well. Who do you think, bro, then are sort of dark horses that you didn't sort of put in your top 8 from the start of the season? Who's some dark horses that you think now, seeing them play a proper game of footy, this would be your revised top 8?
Man, I should probably remember who I had in my 8.
I had all the Queensland teams, I know that for sure.
To be honest, I don't see it changing much. It just might be those teams that are outside the 8. I might change the order. I just think this week, it being the first week, there's always upsets that's bound to happen. I don't think this many upsets would happen, but it is what it is. Like I said, the Dragons probably were the team that surprised everyone, I'd say. And I think if anything, there were some top teams like the Knights that probably let a few down. Like, I didn't expect that performance from them to start the season, so they probably slide down. Did they slide out of my 8? Not really too sure. Not too sure if I even had them there. I'm assuming I did, but you never know. I think the Wires, even though they lost, showed me enough that they're going to be good still. So I'd still have them in there. Sharks, again, I think they're probably my team. Probably the ones that I didn't see from the Las Vegas one, that first one, Manly, because I think I had them out purely on Turbo. But I mean, he got the full 6 points for the Dally M. So they'll probably be a team that moves up into my 8. And the Dragons, I'll have them, not wooden spoon. Probably give that to the Tigers now, based on what we saw, because I'm not giving it to my Bulldogs. But yeah, I think Dolphins did let me down. I kind of expected more from them. Titans, just what it is with them. You just never know with them. But yeah, overall, I think my 8's probably still going to stay the same. Might just be that 9 through 12. It might change. It'll definitely be teams jumping up and teams jumping down. But yeah, I mean, it's only week 1, right? It's just hard to tell what season's going to be like. What about...
These are our too early to tell predictions.
It's definitely too early to tell still. I'd say in 2-3 weeks we'll get a better shape up of what's going to happen on the season. What about you, bro? Any teams surprise you from the season or anything that stood out?
Yeah, again, same as you, bro. The Dragons really surprised me. Putting some respect on their name. Tigers, years of getting the spoon. I put it in the group chat the other night. I go, Tigers are definitely getting that spoon. Vince come to their defence. So once he finally comes on the show, I think he'll have a great case to put across the board to say why the Tigers won't be the wooden spoon. But, mate, after watching their Dragons performance, you think you can beat the Titans? 28-4? Go on, boys. Hush.
I just remembered
my 1 through 4.
Oh, so before you continue, my bad.
Oh, yeah?
When the letter came out, Taraki tagged me and Vince in it, and it said, "Oh, not the 9th spot again," because the West Tigers, you know how like they've won wooden spoon the last 2 years, but before that they had a habit of always finishing 9th. Well, because they had that bye, they're in 9th spot already. So it's like, fuck yeah. I was like, are we bringing back the 9th spot joke, eh? It's like a crack up. But yeah, sorry, my bad.
When it rains, it pours, Tigers fans. When it rains, it pours. Look, my top 4 looks like, and it is obviously going to change throughout the season, but I've got Melbourne, Penrith, Sydney Roosters, Brisbane Broncos. Then outside the top 4, I've got Para, Warriors, Canberra, Cronulla, Manly. I think Manly, Cronulla, Canberra will be fighting for that 7-8 spot. And I think each week they'll kind of be floating in between. With just outside of them, I think probably Cowboys will put their hand up for a bit of that action too. and maybe the Bunnies might have something to say if everyone stays healthy. But yeah, I've got those guys in. And like I said, Cowboys, Manly, they can all put their hands up and take out any of those spots throughout the season. I think it's just a case of who stays healthiest. But Warriors fans, I'm still with you. I'm still backing you. You've done enough in the weekend to show us that you still got the goods. You can still hang in there for the full 80. You didn't give up. There's just a few areas that you just need to tighten up, and maybe it was a bit too long of an off season. But round one's over and done with. You can shake off the jitters and get back out there ready to roll for round two. Yeah. Otherwise, I don't think there was too many shockers. I do think my players of the round were spectacular in all facets of the game. I had Joey Manu, Tyrell Sloan, and Seal Sifa Talakai were my three key players from round one. All backs, and they really, I think, stole the show in some of their games. They may not have been the main try scorers for Talakai and Joey Manu. They might not have scored all the tries to help them win, but they were in some of the key plays that helped get their team over the line. And those are my big three for the week. Who are your big three for round one?
So the first one, similar to you, Joey Manu. Dude's just different. And again, it's going to be sad to see him leave at the end of the season. The ones that stood out for me, weirdly, were from losing teams. So I had Edifano Blake. I mean, he just stood out. And it's going to be sad to see him leave the Wires at the end of the season. Kind of struggled on the third one because I'm not giving it to Bryce to cut right. I'm just not doing it. But actually, Isaiah Yeo stood out to me in that game. I thought he was, to me, he just looked a cut above, and probably solidified that to me he's the best lock in the game. His runs were good. He got them on the front foot with some of his runs. His ability to, the ball play. And I feel as though he's just finding a real good mix, like switching it up. Before, when they were coming out of their half, he would always just run it. He wouldn't start ball playing until they got a good ball. But there were times where I think they thought he was going to pass and he would run. And times where he would look like he's going to run and actually play at the back. So I feel as though he's really defining that role. And I think he's been their best player in this game and in that World Cup challenge. I thought he was really, really good. So yeah, I know him and Fino Black both lost, but just from what I saw, those were two players to me that really stood out along with Joey Manu. Yeah, so it's probably the three for me. Yeah.
Oh, solid. Well, that means Joey is the king of the round. He's a player that both of us picked, so turns out Joey was the man. All right, nice. So there were heaps of key players throughout the weekend. It's so hard to just pick three. Again, it's subjective. Two has his players that he thought stood out, and I have my players that I think stood out for totally different reasons. It's good that you picked a few forwards because I picked just all backs. Sad as to the backs, to the forwards. Sorry, but hey, it is what it is. Now about to wrap up, but before we do, we've got our power rankings brought to you by 99 Dreams. Now check this out. So our power rankings will be evaluated every week. On our Tuesday podcast, we'll give you who is our 1 through to 17. Should we start with the bottom and work our way to the top? And then each week we'll talk about movers and shakers, who moved up, who moved down, and who remained neutral. This is our first power ranking, so there are no movers and shakers. This is just where they will be starting from. Again, this is based off of did they win, did they lose, who did they beat, how much did they win by, and how well they played. So, should we start bottom or top?
Let's start from the bottom and then we'll make our way up. This probably seems the most logical way.
Easy. You call out the first one and tell us why they didn't, why they started off at the bottom.
Yep, so at the bottom we have the almighty West Tigers. For obvious reasons, I feel like, they had a tough match. Barely came through with the win against the bye. So yeah, we don't know what they're about really, so that's kind of why they're there. At 16th we have the Dolphins. I mean, you just got smoked. Just got absolutely smoked. Not really much to say about that. 15th we have the Titans, who again, just off the back of their second half performance by the Dragons. And at 14th we have my Bulldogs, again thoroughly outplayed. So you have three teams who pretty much got dominated, and you got a team that hasn't played yet. That kind of rounds out the bottom four. We then move into the next section.
Yeah, and with the Tigers, because they finished up at the bottom of the table last season and they had the bye round this year, we've got literally nothing to go off of other than they're the worst team in the comp. So that's where they start from. So Tigers fans, they can only get better from here, or they just stay there. Like I said, Dolphins got pumped by who everyone expected to be the wooden spoon. So when you get pumped by who you think the wooden spoon is going to be, you can't be much higher than the wooden spoon yourself. Dolphins. So no, they got pumped. Titans lost to the prospective wooden spooners, so that's why they're so low. Bulldogs haven't really shown too much that they're too different from last season, so they don't get to jump too far ahead. Now the next 1, 2, 3 or 4. Yeah, I'll do the next 4.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll do 4. And the next 4, now this is where it got a little bit difficult in terms of our power rankings. So we've got just above the Bulldogs at 17, 16, 15, 13th. Just above the Bulldogs at 13th, we've got South Sydney Rabbitohs. Now they are there because they did lose to Manly, but they were also further down the ladder last season than the teams above them. So from that retrospect, we couldn't put them above the other teams. And there is an asterisk further up the ladder, but you'll also get to that shortly. In front of the Bunnies in 12th, we've got the Newcastle Knights. Again, they're in a loss, but they did lose to someone in the top 8 as well. Ahead of them is the Dragons. Now, why the Dragons made such a huge jump is because they were able to beat the Titans at home 28-4, which means their defense stood up. They only allowed 1 try. It's a win. I feel like you can't really put a winning team below 7 other teams that lost. So the Dragons will start their power ranking season from 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11th. Good work, Dragons. And then in 10th place, we've got the Warriors. Again, lost to the Sharks, but because the Sharks were in the top, doesn't move them outside of the power rankings too much. So they do go ahead of the Dragons, but the Warriors were in the top 4 last season, so we can't knock them too far down the power rankings this year. So Warriors fans, you are ranked 10th in the power rankings. Hopefully you guys can prove to us that we are incorrect. Over to you for the next 4, bro.
Yes, moving on to the next 4. At 9th, we have the Sharks. I think what you'll find with this power ranking is that a lot of these teams are quite evenly matched, I'd say. So in a given week, they might shift, but it's just how we base it off of last year's seedings and off of the first round. So the Sharks at 9th. The first playoff team, we have the Cowboys. Again, they finished outside the 8 last year. They had a dominant victory, even though it was against the Dolphins. It was still dominant, so they have earned that spot at number 8. At number 7, you have the Raiders. A team that made the 8 last year, and again in their first week they beat another team that made the 8, which is why they have placed there. One of the big movers already is Manly. Again, as you know, they go as good as Turbo goes, and boy does he go. So Manly entrenched in their, what are they, 8, 7, 6? Yeah, so that would be the next four. We have the Sharks at 9, just missing. Cowboys, Raiders, then Manly. I'll hand it over to you to really where we
Nice.
get to what would you say these next teams are like the elite?
Yeah, yeah. These teams look, and yeah, the way we've seen them play over the opening round, they're definitely the real deal. And these teams are the ones we think will be fighting for those top spots towards the end of the season. And at fifth place, and this isn't a biased pick, we've got the Broncos. Both of us agreed that the Broncos aren't too far off the 4, but they ain't further down. There's not 7 better teams than them. There's not 6 better teams than them. Yes, they did lose to the Roosters, but they showed flashes of brilliance. And I think had Pio Kura not get injured, might have been a different story because they just used Paddy Carrigan differently in that game. But anyway, we move on. And at fourth, another losing team this week was Penrith Panthers. Again, we don't think that they've fallen outside of the top 4. Just because they lost to Melbourne doesn't mean that they've fallen outside the top 4. They only lost by 8 points. They didn't get double digits scored on them, and they did get over the line, but it got pulled back for an obstruction, which swung the momentum back Melbourne's way. So who knows where that could have taken them this game. And at third, we've got Parramatta Eels, and the Eels are looking the real deal this season. It looks like they're finally putting those key pieces together and making things happen. And at that number 2 spot, you Sydney fans will be big on this one. The Roosters, Joey Manu, James Tedesco, Carey's looking nice. They got the wheels are turning over there in those Sydney beaches. So Roosters, get up. We've got you in that second, and then 2 for the number 1 spot.
Yes, at the number 1 spot, we have the Melbourne Storm. You know, continuing that streak of 23 straight wins in week 1. Craig Bellamy for what he's done. You know, the fact they did it without Munster and Nelson just goes to show their class. So I think rightfully so. They beat the Premiers, you know, the defending champs. And well, I think we both consider to be the match of the round. So rightfully so, they have taken that number 1 spot for week 1. Yeah, man.
And just so the people at home know what power rankings are, power rankings don't correlate to the same rank of a ladder. So it doesn't matter who's won or lost. Power rankings is based on how well their team played, their current history, if they're on a win streak, a losing streak, how many points they scored. So even though your team lost, you still might be ranked above a team that have won their game. So stay tuned, watch how that goes, and we may not have the same power rankings as your favorite NRL website, but these are our power rankings, and these are some of it's subjective and some of it is backed by stats. So stay tuned for next week when we bring back 99 Dreams power ranking, and we'll see where the biggest movers and shakers lie. But over to 2, he's got some breaking news out of the Spencer Leniu case.
Yeah, so Spencer Leniu, after the incident that happened between him and Ezra Mann, he went straight to the judiciary, and it looks like it has just come back 8 games. He's been banned. He got banned for 8 games, it looks like it. So, yeah.
8?
Yeah, it looks like that. Just reading what it says here, the panel believes Leniu will not offend again, but wanted to send a clear message that offending in this nature will not be tolerated. Looks like it took them 40 minutes. After a 40-minute deliberation, Spencer Leniu has been suspended for 8 weeks. It was a unanimous decision by the panel. The 8-game ban means Leniu will not be available to play in round 10 against the Warriors. So yeah, 8 games he got. Yeah.
Damn. It's a lot of games, and hey, it just goes to show, man, saying shit like that's not worth it. You put your club at, now they're at a disadvantage because you're not there playing for them, and you're contracted to play for them. You've disrespected yourself, your community, and you let down one of your fellow players, man. Those should be your brothers. Even though you're playing against them, you should still have respect for the people you play against. And racism's no joke. So, yeah, I'm happy with that sentence. Is there any other punishments that go along with it? Does he have to do any community service? Does he have to, publicly apologise to not only Ezra Mann, but also his family and his communities?
I'm not too sure. Wouldn't be surprised if that happens as well. I know what he wanted to have a face-to-face meeting with Ezra Mann, and Ezra Mann told him nope. Fair enough, Yep,
yeah, fair.
So I don't know. Long short answers, I don't know, but would not be surprised. And yeah, we certainly don't condone that action. It's just stupid, man. You're a dumbass, and you deserve your 8 weeks. But yeah.
So he won't be there to play the Broncos at Suncorp in round 9.
Nah. It's going to be tough.
They probably done that one intentionally too, eh? They're probably like, nah, let's not run the risk of having it come back.
Yeah, fair.
Makes sense from there, yeah, because I think that would be quite a heated game. And a lot of the Broncos boys would probably look to put themselves on suspension for a couple of weeks just to get at him. So, yeah, that's probably a smart move. I wonder if he'll travel to Brisbane that game.
No, I doubt it.
Yeah, interesting. But anyway, Fano, that's this episode of the practice run done and dusted for another Tuesday afternoon. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We have enjoyed this. It was our first time ever running a full round review. We'll get better at it. We promise. We'll get better at it. I'll take more notes. I need to take some more notes. I'm putting the phone away. Benja, don't message me. I don't care if the Warriors are playing. Shut up. Stop messaging us. Yeah, I had so much fun with this. Again, hope you guys like this new video format if you're watching it on YouTube with some of these highlights. I hope we don't get copyrighted or anything. I am stealing them from NRL YouTube channel, but this should be sweet. Hopefully, we're just trying to promote the game just as much as you guys are. I'll put, footage courtesy of the NRL. You guys put it out there, so surely it's free game. But yeah, we're looking forward to round 2. I'm looking forward to seeing all the teams back out on the field. We'll dive into a lot of those breakdowns up on our Thursday show. So tune back in for that. To all our listeners, near and far, thank you all so much. I'll throw it over to Tu for some final words.
Yep, good to have League back. I'm probably the same as you. Actually, should have learned to take notes during the game. And yeah, but again, we just want to give a shout out to our fans overseas, near and far, to our ones in the States. We appreciate yous. And, if anyone else out there listening, you want to give us a follow, please do. It really helps out the channel. We are a community, the practice squad, and the more the merrier. So if you want to jump on a swicker with us, you're more than welcome to, and we'll grow. Because, we are going places. It's going to take some time, but we'll get there. Other than that, we'll see you all on Thursday. And as per, chur to the chur, mā te wā.